Welcome to the U-Turn podcast. My friend, this is Ashley Stahl. I'm your host, and you are in the right place if you're ready to create a business, a career, a personal brand, or just a life that you're so proud of. And every single week, we want to support you by bringing you PhDs, subject matter experts, psychology practitioners, business leaders, all here on the show to elevate your success in business and also in life so that you can leave a legacy, you can amplify your authority, and you can really skyrocket the amount of opportunities you're creating for yourself in your career, whether you're corporate or you're a business owner. And if you are new here, again, my name is Ashley Stahl. I'm an international bestselling author of the book U-Turn, Get Unstuck, Discover Your Direction, Design Your Dream Career. And most importantly, I'm the CEO and founder of Wise Whisper Agency. I'm a top 100 TEDx speaker on the internet, and I was so inspired to create Wise Whisper and help clients craft their signature talk. We've helped hundreds of clients craft their talk, and we've also helped so many of them land spots on some of the biggest stages in the world, including the TED and TEDx stage. And so I am here on a mission to help every changemaker I know impact millions. Also, before we get into this episode, shout out to our friend Andy B. Mackin, the artist that has gifted us this sick new music for the podcast. Let's get into this week's episode. All right, U-Turn friends, you know that I've brought people onto this show that I've come across in life that I just remember. And Giovanni Marsico is absolutely one of those people. Not only does he host events and summits, he's a connector, community builder, a change maker. He's the CEO of a company called Archangel. I've been around him probably almost a decade now because he's just surrounded by people close to me that are making huge impacts. He's a 2 times Emmy Award winning film producer. And if there's one thing I could talk to him about today with you, it's purpose, it's stories, the stories we tell ourselves, the stories we tell the world, the stories we write for our life. So Giovanni, thank you so much for making the time to be here.
I am very honored. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm grateful to have you. You really for someone who has done so many big events, what's inspiring to me is you've never seemed to pursue being like a big influencer, like online. Like you kind of feel like this earthy, under the radar, but like massive event production. Like talk to me a little bit about your thinking on how how you started with your events and why.
I have a joke that my friends tell me about me, which is I've had more people pay me than follow me,
I love
right?
it.
So if you, most people have giant followings online. I've never cared, and what I've cared about is um, making memories, creating experiences for people that last forever, and then they want to tell other people. Like it might blow your mind. We'll have somewhere between 3 to 4 thousand people at our Toronto event in September, and we do zero ads.
Wow.
It's all word of mouth, and it's people keep coming back and keep telling people because we design experiences that first there's no ick. You know,
Mm,
you might go to an event and there's like, oh,
yeah.
we try to do zero ick factor, and there's a lot of awe and surprise and mind-blowing things that happen.
I actually just went to an event that I spent a lot of money on and I left with a really big ick because it was $5,000 the first event. It was a weekend and the founder of the company was there and he was amazing and that's kind of why people came. And then he upsold a 35K event and I had no idea he wasn't going to show up for the expensive one. And it was just like his team doing it. And it definitely made me feel kind of like, what is happening in our space? And I can tell why consumers, even, I don't know if you know, I have a business the past 2 years, Giovanni. We have like a done for you offer where we're crafting and booking speeches. So like we've crafted, helped craft probably over 120 TED Talks and keynotes, and we've helped them get booked, at different places. And when clients come in, because we're like a higher end service, like our writers have written shows like Grey's Anatomy, you know, I could tell how much people are traumatized by
Right.
making investments that don't actually pan out in our space. How are you thinking about your events or serving people that you think is like really keeping these raving fans coming back? Like, what do you think is that secret sauce? Because there's so many events. Like, what do you think is going on
Right.
that's different?
I have an unfair advantage that I've been producing events for 30 years. That's the start. And then I designed the event to be valuable in and of itself. I don't sell or pitch anything. Like there's no upsell. There's no anything other than come back next year. And the I think I have a very unique approach to experience design. Like I actually, because I produce film and events, we produce and there's a storyline. So there's a story arc, I design it, and then every speaker is like a chapter of the story, and there's a climax, and we also infuse elements that make an amazing experience where it can't just be education. It can't just be people teaching. That
Mm,
would be, and the audience is entrepreneurial, so that would be insanely boring. So
yeah.
we infuse entertainment. There's always performance and singers and musicians, and it's always a surprise. Um, there's aesthetic that to me is very important, and then we there's escapism, and then we also evoke all kinds of emotions so that you leave with a memory.
Mm.
Like that's how I win. That's how I know I've been successful. If people come up to me and saying, 8 years ago I went to your event and it changed my life, which is
Wow.
a phrase that happens a lot.
Mm. Mm. Okay, so I know that you are a producer and you've put your hands in many different powerful projects and you're a person of purpose. I have found that purpose for me moves. Like I feel so alive about something for 2 or 3 years, and then I don't anymore. And I think this is normal for a lot of people. And I think people probably have expectations we should just go from purpose to purpose to purpose versus purpose to question, question to answer. It takes time. So I'm curious for anybody listening who feels a little bit lost and they want to find that sense of purpose that I hear on you. Where do you think people should really begin, and how do you get yourself with the courage to be the person you want to be? Because obviously there was a point in time where you were not a producer in the film space. So talk to me a little bit about how you make that happen.
I think people can look for clues um, or ask people around them to look for clues of what lights them up, meaning literal facial expression changes based on topics. And for me, uh, there's also a connection to pain,
Mm,
right? So if someone taps into something that was painful for them in the past, there may be a clue to purpose on the other side of the coin of what that pain is. So, for example, I moved around a lot when I was a kid. I went to five different elementary schools. I was always bullied. I was always the new kid. I always wanted to feel like I belong.
mm,
So it unleashed this gift of bringing people together in connection and feeling amazing when I make other people belong or
mm.
make other people feel like they belong. And I think there are clues in both of those.
It's interesting listening to you say this because I think your cup is full, right? Like you do these events, so your time is full, your purpose is full. And I think it's really easy for somebody whose cup is full to be of service and like be helpful. I think a lot of people listening, like they're scared, whether it's like the economy or they're in jobs and they think about AI and their cup isn't totally full. Maybe they're just like living paycheck to paycheck and they want to get ahead and but they can't really afford to like go on a purpose exploration and step out of their jobs. And I don't know, I imagine a lot of people judge themselves like I know I did forever ago when I was starting my business. I really didn't have enough money to be generous with people because I was barely paying my bills. I didn't have enough energy to be generous because I was working as an entrepreneur. I had nothing left. And I remember I used to go to summits and people would be like, it's all about service and giving back. And I'd be like, I have nothing to give. Can you take me into a time where maybe you kind of felt like that sense of like you don't have all that life force energy? Um, and you kind of were able to get yourself out of it and like really start to make that impact.
Well, I'll test this because I think I think the solution through that fog or that fear or that anxiety, like I actually think anxiety is when you feel like there's a giant spotlight shining on you.
Mm,
And if you turn the spotlight 180 degrees and shine it on other people, um, it's harder to feel it because the focus changes. So with respect to even if the cup is empty,
mm,
there's something magical about doing something for someone else. Like I'll remember times where I had zero money And I gave my last 20, like someone asked me for money on the street and I gave my last $20 to them.
No.
And for some whatever reason, I'm like, if they need it, I want to help them, but I feel like I'm going to be taken care of.
Mm,
And there's an energetic shift. Like I think we've lost track of the fact that we are a social, uh, communal species. That we over the past, I don't know how many decades, but especially with the pandemic, where we're taught to separate and isolate and not be around other people and work from home and all this kinds of stuff. Um, like we thrive in community, we thrive when we're together. And there is a massive opportunity to lead people who want to be in community.
mm,
Part of the secret sauce of what we do is that people will come the first time for an outcome
mm,
or to hear a speaker or to solve a puzzle they have, and they keep coming back because they feel like they found their people, in quotes. Like this is my family, it feels like a reunion. And any of us can create that feeling, no
mm,
matter what the business is or
mm.
whatever someone does. And like so there's the purpose side of why we exist, and then there's also the gift side of purpose, which is what the thing you contribute to other people.
Mm,
And that, for lack of a better phrase, that can be monetized.
mm.
Doesn't have to be, but I think that's we are here to figure out what that gift is, and then we're here to give it to people.
Right, right. I think there's a lot of people who feel like maybe they don't know where to start. I think that's why your events are so cool because one of the things that creates clarity, I think, is conversations. And people sometimes are stuck and they don't have clarity. And it's like, oh, if you just start to have conversations with people who are on purpose and maybe they have a similar skill set to you, slightly different, maybe they're in a niche you're interested in. I'm a big believer that your skill set is so much more powerful for where you're headed than what you're interested in. I think your interests are great, but I think your skill set is the foreground, like,
Right.
um, what do you look for in the people that you have closest to you? Because obviously you need to take care of your energy. I take care of mine. I'm super picky with whose thoughts I'm taking in. I've never worked so hard on my vibration as I have now. And almost every time I see a person or situation in my world that isn't working for me, like I have a weird landlord right now, for example, I look back and I'm like, he showed me signs he was kind of slimy from the beginning. Like he he like messed with the price of the place. Like once the lease came, all of a sudden the price was different. There's a flood in the bathroom. I moved in that day and the flood got worse and he didn't fix it. Like it was like all these things that I just thought, what was I doing? Who was I being to bring something into my space like that? And it's like, oh, I really needed a place. I was too attached to
Right.
getting a place right now. I was in scarcity. I believe there were better options. I was looking during the fires in LA, which was not a good time to look. But point being, we're always creating our reality. So how do you think about the people that are close to you and how do you choose from that?
I've found that uh, in the work I do, I seem to attract people who are very aligned to me when I'm at my best, and that using um, a bit of woo language, like at my highest frequencies.
Mm,
And I love to surround myself. Like my favorite relationships are where we are each other's hero.
mm,
Like there's something about the other person that I admire, and then they have something like that for me, and there's an amazing bond, and um, we have a bigger dream for the other person than they do,
mm-hmm,
right? And we believe in them more than they believe in themselves, and vice versa. And
mm,
we are constantly edifying each other and lifting each other up and helping each other get further down our own paths.
mm.
To me, that it's when people use the phrase "we have so much in common,"
Yeah.
usually they're talking about the past, like we came
Mm,
from the same city or we went to the same high school or we like the same music. To me, when I use that phrase, we're talking about the future.
mm,
Like we are on a similar path and trajectory to some awesome future that we're building together.
mm.
And that's to me the better way to create relationship than the past.
Love that. Love that.
Thank you.
Um,
You talked about your vibration, and I love this topic. What do you do to get your vibration higher? And when do you notice when it's not as high as you want it to be?
I when I notice where it's not where I want it to be is an older version of me creeping back into the story.
Mm,
So something that's happened in the past that maybe was painful and it's altering my behavior to try to avoid that pain again.
mm,
And the way I leapfrog through it is to connect to future me. And I have conversations with myself from the future.
mm.
I like to time travel.
Mhm.
And and the realization that uh, we craft our realities.
Mhm.
We give things meaning. So something will happen to any of us, and it's not the thing that happened that causes the emotion. It's the story we attach on top of it based on everything we've been through in life so far.
Mm,
But that, and it's like wearing so imagine you wore pink colored lenses. So like glasses and they're pink and you're in Canada in the winter
mm,
and you're like, look at the snow. It's so pink.
mm,
And everyone's like, snow is white. No, no, snow is pink. I can see it. It's right there. You forget you're wearing the lens. We do that all the time with everything. We
mm,
have a lens that gives meaning to things. We forget that the lens is there and we don't even know we can change the lens or take it off.
mm.
And so what I try to do is remember that idea that we have meaning lenses on that are invisible. We can pause and just say, well, where is this meaning coming from and how do I change it?
Right.
And like I mentioned to you before we started recording, we aren't just the main character in our personal story. We are also the director and the set designer and the screenwriter, and we have a lot more control over that than we think.
Mm, mm. Talk to me a little bit about like how you got into film production and like what gave you the courage because that's, obviously you get courageous after you host events and you build something. And that's how entrepreneurship works, right? You start to build something, you start to learn how to build something, you start to realize that you can build something in one niche and it's pretty much the same skills in another.
Right.
But becoming a film producer feels different than an event producer. So talk to me a little bit about where, like, take me into the moment where you got started with that. Like, what was the inkling and what was the moment you got traction?
So to give a bit of history, for the past 17 years, except for COVID, every weekend I go to a movie theater by myself and watch like whatever came out that week, I'll watch a movie. Like I'm obsessed with movies and story. And then we launched Archangel 11 years ago. So I've been bringing awesome people together for over a decade. One of those people is now a good friend. His name is Nick Nanton. You might know Nick,
Yeah, sounds
who's an incredible director. And he did a movie with Russell Brunson, like essentially crowdfunded the community to raise funds to produce a film on human trafficking because they have a nonprofit that they raise money for. And Nick's like, hey, you have an amazing community. Do you want to do a similar thing? I said, yes, but I don't want drama or tension. It has to be uplifting and motivating. So our first film project together was called Dreamer. The idea of people who've had big dreams to impact a lot of people, but have actually made the dreams happen. And that first film won three, like the film won three Emmy Awards. I got two from that. So, and then we did another one called Hero about Joseph Campbell and the hero's journey. And now I'm starting to make narrative movies like science fiction. And but we're making movies that play throughout our events and come to life on stage. So it's a very unique, one of a kind experiential thing. But it was one of my biggest dreams as even as a kid to make movies. So the fact that I'm doing that is insane to me.
Mm, mm. Talk to me about how I want more tactical support for everybody listening because I can hear the magic you've created for yourself, but I know these are note takers.
Sure.
So if somebody's listening and they're like, I want to get into film and I've been doing something cool in my career, but I don't really know how to get started. What would you do if you lost everything with this and you started over? What would be those first steps you would take to get into film?
Well, for that specifically, it's a very unique time because of AI and everything that's happening. Like
Yeah.
technically, anyone can make a movie now, and it'll be almost Hollywood quality. So, but if you asked me this question 3 or 4 years ago, and forget even movie making, whatever the desire or dream is, there are people already doing what you want to do. And to me, it's always about getting in the right rooms. Even like what, so if I was giving myself advice when I was 20,
Yeah.
I would say find someone who's amazing
Mm.
and figure out how you can gift your time to them to be valuable, like even as a uh, an assistant or something, like whatever it is, to be in their sphere and energy will be way more valuable than going to any school because it's like if you want to learn a sport, you can't just sit in a classroom learning, well, these are the rules of basketball. Like you have to be on the courts
Mm.
and whatever the court is for your industry or your thing. And uh, being in that room or the right rooms or the energy is an amazing starting place. And being of serve, like I have this theory that anyone can get whatever they want if um, you figure out the other person's path and how you can help them get further down their path first.
Hmm.
And figure out what matters to them, which is hard. And you can't just ask them. But
Mm.
I'll give a tangible example. Like when we did our first big summit in 2016, and we had 1,500 attendees at our first event, and we had Seth Godin speak, and Gary Vaynerchuk, and Robin Sharma, and a whole bunch of awesome people. And I was like a quote unquote nobody. So, and I thought, well, I want Seth to speak because he's my favorite author ever, and he's changed my life. And I thought, I can't just, for these people, you can't just offer money, even though like I paid everybody. But um, I thought, how do I pitch the best marketer on the planet? And it can't be crap. It has to be. So, so my pitch to him was, Seth, I'm your biggest fan, and I know you've heard that a million times. And I've read all your books, and I know you've heard that a million times. But here's the thing I bet you haven't heard before.
Mm.
I'm your case study.
Mm.
And what I do, I actually broke it down of how the specific books that I read of his, how I implemented the wisdom, and how it turned into the business I was running, and how I was a success story for him. Because when I tried to reverse engineer the whole thing, I thought, well, what does someone like him actually want? It's not about the money. He's made all that.
Mm.
I think what he wants is to know that the blood, sweat, and tears mattered.
Mm.
Like he somehow made a difference. So I said, here's how I'm your case study. And because of you, I'm producing this event that only exists because I've been your student forever. And his response was, how do I say no to this? So,
Mm.
so he came and spoke at that event. He's spoken like 3 times. And so the lesson is, uh, and this is for if you want to connect with somebody. I think any of us can connect with anybody, but it has to be more valuable to the other person than it is to you. And that's the hard part. But if
Mm.
you can figure out what the other person needs, like Gary Vee, the other one at that event, he was launching a book. And I said, instead of paying you a fee, can I buy 3,000 copies of your book?
Mm.
Right. And for an author during a launch, if
Yeah.
someone says, can I buy 3,000 copies of your book? You pay attention.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what he needed at the time. It's like, it's not about a money thing for him.
Hmm.
Right. So if you learn the other person's path and how you can make it easier for them to get further down their path and
Hmm.
you become valuable in that way, that's an amazing tactical way of achievement.
Hmm. Hmm. I've always wanted to write a film script, and it's interesting because my speech writers that help me, with the crafting of our clients' keynotes or their TED Talks or whatever, written shows like White Lotus, so her Succession, one of them. And so they're in a great position to help me write. I definitely believe AI can write something amazing, but I'm hard pressed to believe they can write what I see these writers writing yet. I think it can
Right.
eventually.
But see,
Maybe.
the writing is the thing I wouldn't delegate.
Yeah,
Like
exactly. I think
um,
they can use AI to like do research and
yeah,
brainstorm ideas, but ultimately I have not seen AI write at the level that they can. And um, I do think that some people want to do things that maybe aren't aligned with their gifts. So when you moved into film or you pivoted, like I can imagine somebody saying, okay, I want to do this thing. I'm going to get aligned with people that, I can add value to. I think a lot of people from a self-esteem perspective might think like, how do I add value? Who am I to add value? Um, yeah, just curious, like what would you say to that? Because your events have a whole range of people in different
yeah.
parts of their journey.
There's there's two parts to this. One is that people confuse how can I say this? They confuse worth with self-worth, meaning like we are intrinsically meant to be here, and the fact that we exist is already a gift.
Hmm.
And from a utility paradigm, maybe you feel imposter syndrome or those things because you haven't acquired the level of skill yet that would make you feel certainty and confidence. But that only comes through doing the work and practicing. Like if I like using analogies to make things simpler. If you want to learn piano, how to play the piano,
Hmm.
and you sat down for the first time and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I can't play Beethoven. Well, um, and I'm a perfect example. I took 10 years of piano lessons as a kid, and my whole life I said I suck at singing. Like I can play amazing, I suck at singing. So I'm actually taking singing lessons now. I just have my fifth lesson because when you're doing an instrument or even singing, my teacher's not teaching me to sing songs.
Hmm.
He's taking me through vocal uh, exercises to build the muscles in my throat. And it's the same for anything in life. Like you have to understand the skills to acquire first
Hmm.
to be able to do the thing that builds the confidence, and then you create case studies. So uh, the good news is that everything is a skill,
Yeah.
even confidence, even charisma, even speaking on stages or having conversations. The things that we admire in other people that we think they were born with as a talent can be an acquired skill. So if I can sing because I've sucked my whole life, then you can do whatever your thing is. It just, there's hard work in putting in the reps, but it's possible. And then again, with AI, you can learn the shortcuts. I wouldn't delegate, but I would actually figure out how to be personally more valuable and then using AI to amplify that.
Mm. Mm. Love that. Um, what am I not asking you about purpose that you think if somebody's listening right now and they feel really stuck, it would really help move them along?
Okay, so I think one of the uh, terrible things about life is that we've idolized knowledge.
Mm.
So as we are born and through the first 20 years of our life, we're taught to acquire wisdom and knowledge through intellect,
Mhm.
which is amazing. I'm not nothing wrong with that, but there's a whole other side of our brain or our body, sorry, which is intuition.
Mm.
And people see intuition as like a weird out there rainbows and unicorns kind of topic, but I actually think our bodies are designed both for intellect and intuition, but we don't harness or use intuition as a skill.
Mm.
And I bet everyone has had gut feelings, in quotes, that have steered them in the right or wrong direction, either because they listened or they didn't listen. And I've found that, like, I started producing events when I was 16, like dance parties for teenagers. We had 1,000 people at my first party, and it was like 5,000 people a week by the time I was 20, and it was the greatest. And I wasn't doing anything terrible. Like I've never been drunk in my life. I hadn't touched any drugs. I was the cleanest. My nickname was Johnny Angel back then because they're like, how are you running nightclubs and you're not inebriated? It's like I don't want to be. But there's always a battle with my parents about, well, why don't you go to university and actually get a degree and get a real job and not do this event stuff? While I was doing the quote unquote event stuff, I was lit up the whole time.
Mm.
When I finally listened and went to school for engineering, I felt anxiety and depression for the first time in my life. And I thought there was something wrong with me. Like I had uncontrollable crying, I had panic attacks I couldn't figure out. I literally thought maybe I should be on medication.
Mm.
And what I have now looking back, because when I started Archangel, it was the first time I felt happy again.
Mm.
And it was my body trying to guide me where the emotions were like a GPS or a compass, right? And the anxiety I was experiencing was my internal navigation saying you're off course. It wasn't something wrong with me. It was the genius of my body trying to give me direction.
Mm.
And when I started doing the Archangel events, I had this moment. I was driving on the highway. And I had to pull over. It felt like every positive emotion flowing through me like a lightning bolt. I called it a bliss attack, like the opposite of a panic attack, because I had no idea what to call this thing. I was bawling, crying, but like joyful tears. And it was like my body saying, finally, dude, like you're back. And I want people to experience bliss attacks. It's the coolest thing ever.
I had one. I had one like 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. It was my birthday. It was May 29th. I was supposed to catch a flight to New York and the next day. And I didn't have any plans because like everybody was busy and I was just in town for 24 hours. And I was getting off the freeway and I saw this homeless family. And my sister was homeless before she passed away. I had a big sister who was ill. And so I have a soft spot, I guess the term is unhoused is the more appropriate term. I'm not very good at these things, but I think unhoused. Um, and I saw the guy had a 3-year old and like a maybe a 1-year old, and the babies were just like waving. And people say things like, "Oh, he's using his kids to get more money" or whatever they say. But whatever is said, I'm like, the fact that you're on the side of the freeway with your kids sucks. And if that is the best idea you have to make money, I'm gonna give you some cash.
Yeah.
And so it was interesting because when I drove past him, I never have cash. I don't carry cash. And I ended up just saying to myself, if there's a Chase Bank close by, I'm gonna go get some cash. And I just got like $1,000 out, or I don't even know what I got out. And I parked my car and I just handed him the money, and he just broke down like, God bless you, God bless you. Gets me like weepy now, but I just thought like, wow, he really needed it.
Yeah.
And we're in such a rush all the time. There's so many ways to have a purpose, but I actually cried the whole way home for like 30 minutes. And I just thought to myself, like, this is the best birthday gift I could give myself, that I get to like fly to New York and have a nice life and do me because I've worked really hard. Some people work this hard and they don't get this result, you know?
Right.
I think sometimes in entrepreneur circles, they're like, if you do the work and you follow the system, some people aren't cut out for certain things. They don't have the personality for it. Like, people don't want to do business with them in that way. There's so much more than just the formula and the energy behind it. There's luck, there's grace, there's energy matches, there's so many things. And I just thought, wow, like, I hope I made a real difference for his life this year. Like, I don't know what that money did for him. And it's so hard. We're so imperfect as people. Like, and I thought to myself, I don't even know if I want to post this on Instagram because it feels pretty narcissistic for me to post how awesome a person I am today on my birthday. But I really had like a bliss attack. It really impacted me. I cried for like truly 45 minutes. I don't think I've ever had it like that before. I mean, it's weird that you bring that up.
First of all, I love that you shared that. Um, I had I have a lot of those moments where I don't ever talk about it
Yeah.
because I feel like I don't need to. But
Yeah.
I'll share one. I was at actually one of Joe Polish's events. So I was in Arizona,
Yeah.
and I was on my own, and I went to this restaurant to eat by myself, and it was one of those kind of restaurants where you eat and then you pay at a cashier. So
Mm. Yeah.
um, and the table beside me was this woman with her 2 kids,
Mm.
and based on the conversation, I could tell there was a lot of struggle.
Yeah.
So I finished eating. I went to the cashier to pay for my meal, and I said, "By the way, I want to pay for that woman and her kids. I don't want them to know it was me. I just let me pay for it." And then the cashier, this guy, like probably 19, 20 years old, started bawling. I'm
Mhm.
like, "Wait a minute, what?" He's like, "Are you serious? What? Why are you doing? I can't believe you're doing." And so I thought I would have an impact and do something nice for that family, which I'm sure it was. But I
Mhm.
realized, oh,
Did it for you.
I did something for this guy.
Mhm.
And so you never know, right? It's such a cool, um, it's just so nice to be nice.
It is so nice to be nice, but I think kind of going back to our earlier conversation, it's like, I don't know, Giovanni, I've been around so many people in our space that are so successful. I got really successful young, but then I lost all my money when I was like 27 because I had no idea how to manage money. And I didn't really have a business. I had a funnel that was working. I had a job hunt course and I got like 500,000 email subscribers in like 2 months because my funnel started working and I came into like a lot of money and success and then a lot of failure and mismanagement after that. And so I met all these successful people on my way up. And then I had so much going on with my self-esteem of like, how do I get to be in this crowd now that I just failed and I have to restart? And I have these email subscribers and all these things, but like, I was so burnt out I didn't even want to send emails to the subscribers when I was like $500,000 in debt. I made like $5 or $6 million in revenue in like 2, 3 months from a funnel in like 2015. And and then I spent like 4 years paying off negative 500K. And it was really hard for me because I was just surrounded by people who'd be like, contribute, contribution, give back. And I'd
Right.
be like, I can't even put the freaking lights on in my place. Like, I feel like such a failure. And I have so much empathy and sympathy and all the thieves for all the people that are feeling that way. It sucks. It sucks. And the thing that kills me to really think about the most is the stories I made about myself. Because you know what? Right when I started my agency now, which by the way, you're talking about intuition, it's called wise whisper because I would hear that wise whisper, which is my intuition. And I never would have thought we'd become a speaking agency and book people for stuff because like I started to believe that maybe I was like that popular football player in high school that comes up to the high school reunion and he's not cute anymore and he's talking about the good old days. Like I thought that would be me, and I thought I peaked. And I thought that was it. And when I started this agency, it became successful in less than a year. And I realized, damn, I'm the same girl. I'm the same girl who was failing. I'm the same girl who was succeeding. It's just I'm doing something different and it's working. And I'm sure my vibration changed. I'm sure I had a more elegant idea, a better offer, but I
Yeah.
was still the same girl. And I really internalized that realization that like when you're succeeding or failing, it's don't make it mean anything about you. It just
Right.
means that life is going on, life is happening. And obviously, when I started Succeed again, all I care about now from a financial perspective is being a good investor. I'm obsessed with it. I'm like, how do I invest this money so I never feel how I felt in those business groups again, where I was like the football player from high school that felt like she put on, he put on 50 pounds and like wasn't cute anymore or whatever. So, yeah, like I want to speak to that person right now that's like rock bottom
Yeah.
and they don't know what they want to do next. What are like 3 or 4 things that you'd be like, here's the things to put you on the path to success? I have a lot of opinions about it, but I'd be curious what yours are because you've done a lot of great things in your career.
Well, the thing I want to add on to what you just said, because there are parts of us that remain constant in terms of uh, in quotes who we are,
Yeah.
and personality isn't permanent. Uh, and personality is a skill. Earlier I said everything is a skill that you could acquire, including identity and personality. And that's where most people get stuck.
Hmm.
And that's where we'll self-sabotage. Like I'll give you one of my own examples, but I think this is relevant for a lot of people, probably most people listening. Um, I think most of us have been conditioned to think that people with money are evil
Mm,
or in quote bad. And even when you look at every film I watched growing up, whether it was animated or not, the person with a lot of money was always the bad guy in the movie. Like
mm,
there's this weird conditioning. And then if you grew up in a middle class or whatever, like in the lower percentages of people with money, um, and like we had relatives who our family said those are our rich cousins,
mm.
which by contrast meant that we weren't. And there's like this scarcity identity that happens. But when you start to do good things and you start to make money, there's this internal conflict that's subconscious where you don't want to look bad, you don't want to be evil.
Yeah.
So you will self-sabotage your success because you don't want to be the person that other people look at as that's a bad person.
Right.
If you believe or you've been taught that people with money are bad.
Mm.
But then the thing that changed my life was I started surrounding myself with people who have been very successful and accomplished, and they are the kindest, most loving, peaceful, humble, not show offish, no ego humans that are doing amazing things to impact people. And I thought my brain broke. It was like, what's happening? Something's wrong. And then I realized, oh, there's a contrast. My beliefs might not be accurate. So I've been on this journey to audit every belief I have because I realized most of them haven't served me. Um, and same with personality. Like when someone says it's just the way I am,
Mm,
uh, that's not accurate. But people will do whatever it takes to protect their identity because they feel safe in the comfort of it, even if it's not serving them.
mm,
So I think the lesson and the my advice is first to be of the belief that you can change your personality.
mhm.
That's possible, and there's science to prove it. There's actually the book that changed my life is called Personality Isn't Permanent by my friend
Yeah,
Dr. Benjamin
Ben.
Hardy.
I
Yeah,
love Ben. Yeah, he's such a great writer.
Ben's Ben's incredible. And he actually spoke at my event last week that I produced in Austin. He's coming to my Toronto event, and I actually told him in person, "Your book changed my life." And I've read a million books, so it's
Yeah.
not it's rare for a life-changing moment for me.
Mm.
Uh, but like
What was it that he said that changed your life the most in that book? What was your big takeaway that made you say that? I love Ben. Ben taught
yeah,
me blog post writing, and I taught Ben
oh,
like 10 years ago.
amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's incredible.
Yeah.
It's that one concept. It changed how I think about what personality is,
Yeah.
and the idea that I think we're always all changing, and then we get hooked and addicted on our identity, and it feels safe, even if it's a victim story. Like we have a lot of people have these things, or let's say that you have an ailment or even a disease. Like I've seen people use the phrase "my cancer."
Mm.
Like it becomes identity. It's like no, that's your body needs healing, but you can heal.
Mm.
Um, it- like, and we put these labels on ourselves, but who are we without all the labels? And let's just change the labels.
Mm.
Like you can use the label author, for example, which is a dream for a lot of people.
Mm.
And I think again, we're the narrator and the screenwriter, and we can change these stories. I used to say I was shy and extremely introverted, but now I can speak to 20. I've spoken in front of 20,000 people at an event, and I had zero anxiety getting on that stage.
Mm. What do you
Um,
think did that? It's just the story you were telling yourself in your mind.
yeah,
Yeah.
I used to be afraid of flying, like death, and now I'm the most calm, peaceful. My HRV, my heart rate is super low. And then I remember I was on a flight a few months ago, and I sat next to this woman, and she sits down and she goes, "I am so sorry. I just need you to know I'm the worst person to sit beside on flights. I'm so scared of flying." So I was like, "Cool. You sat next to the best person ever
Oh my
because I'm
gosh,
gonna
I
help you
have the
change it."
same story as you. Tell me more. This is so crazy. You and I are in a parallel universe,
Yeah,
Giovanni.
it's so cool. And I said,
Yeah.
"Well, I'm going to show you today how you can change that story in this flight." And I said, I am the calmest person and most peaceful person you've ever met, and I'm going to teach you how to be calm. And I literally throughout, she was like first shaking, and then by halfway through the flight, she was like calm. She's like, "What is happening?" And and to me, it's there's so much around belief um, and possibility of how we change how we think, but most people don't know this is possible for them. And then how to breathe, like
Mm.
what anxiety actually is, what panic is, all these things. And uh, I feel like I changed her life in one flight, and but because I changed mine, and I had to figure out the hard way for myself, and now I want to help other people.
Mm. You know, it's so funny. I'm literally feel like we're in a parallel universe, except for you're doing events and films, and I'm like overseeing all these speeches, but in like our day-to-day work life. But I had that experience during the fires in LA. I was landing from Vegas to Burbank. And this girl, like, it was actually really scary because obviously you're coming into Burbank and you see all the fires on the mountains and the winds were kind of fast. The plane completely almost landed within an inch of the ground. Everybody was taking their phones out, like turning off airplane mode,
Mm.
and then it rocketed upwards almost at a 90-degree angle.
Wow.
And the pilot didn't communicate for 10 minutes. So we were about to land, and I was about to tell my parents, come pick me up because they live locally. And then all of a sudden, I texted them, never mind, not landing. The girl behind me, the whole plane could hear her having a panic attack. And I just sprung up, held her hand, and was like, it's okay. Just breathe. It's in your head. It's not real. You're going to be totally fine. Planes move, the wind moves, like
Right.
turbulence is made up. You're going to be all good. And she started calming down. And I was just so locked in with her. And I have one other story like this, so it's so interesting. It's such a pleasure when you work on yourself and you can give it to someone.
Yeah.
Um, and it was interesting. Like I was so locked in with her and we had to reroute back to Vegas, so we never got to LA that night. And this woman tapped me, this Asian woman. Well, I'll never forget it because it just meant so much to me. She tapped me and she said, "Hey." And I said, "Hey." And she said, "I saw what you did for that girl." And I said, "Oh yeah." And she said, "That was nice of you." And it was like, God, it feels so nice. Like you don't do things to be seen, but for people to see that you're providing value because of the amount of years or lifetime that you've spent trying to become that person. And it's
Right.
so weird because we kind of live in a checklist world. Like I just met somebody that I'm dating and he's an amazing guy and he's in New York. So I've been like floating around a lot. And I can tell my vibration must have gone up because he's like a much higher caliber human being. Like it's not that I was attracting low vibration people, he's just his frequency is very high. Like I look at him and I'm like, okay, let me get out of my checklist and just look at what kind of human being this is. This is somebody who cares about his family, the people around him, his integrity, how he communicates with people, the depth. And there's this little part of me that learned as a little girl that people will love me if I perform and be entertaining. And he catches it. He'll be like, "What are you doing?" Versus other men would be like, "You're so fun, you're so funny, da 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 da."
Right.
It's like the caliber of person that expecting my realness, the amount of work I need to do to make it safe for myself to not participate in the bullshit that I could as a person. It takes so much work. So this has been such a nice conversation. Is there anything I haven't asked you that you think would be important for people to know, or where can everybody find your events?
Well, let me break some news with you.
Yeah.
This is my favorite. So, have you ever seen the movie Pay It Forward?
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, one of my favorite. And since that came out, I think the year 2000. And since then, my brain is always like, how come no one's actually done this
Yeah.
for real? Right. And I've always thought, how do I do this? And a few months ago, a friend of mine said, hey, I'm sending you money. I want to pay for a bunch of people to come to your event who maybe either, not that they couldn't afford it, but it would just be easier if someone else paid for their ticket because I know how transformative your events are. And it just, then I realized, oh my God, I have a lot of friends with a lot of money that they're like me, where this would light them up. So I've started this concept. I call it the Luminary Project, where people in my world could essentially buy a whole bunch of tickets to my events. And if they do that, I give them perks. Like,
Cool.
but then I get to gift a whole bunch of tickets to my events. So we'll have like 1,000 tickets to gift for Toronto. And
Wow.
then we're going to do this for every event. Maybe even more because well, I don't want to say that, but potentially a lot more for Toronto. And then anytime I do an event, so for anyone finding me for the first time, I
Mm,
will have one of my friends pay for you to attend my event for the first time.
mm,
The condition is you come to the event, whatever you learn, you apply it so that the next 12 months becomes the best year ever for you.
mm,
And then we want to hear what that story is. Like I want to collect stories, like stories of transformation and impact. So anyone listening or watching this interview, find me and just say you want to come to my events, and we will gift you a ticket that's been paid for by someone else.
mm.
And hopefully you crush it, and then the year after you come back and pay for somebody else. So it's like this giant pay it forward thing.
Love it. Love it so much.
Thank you.
I'm going to put your events in the show notes. Is there anything else for everybody to know before we go?
No, I'm so good. You're awesome.
Yeah. Thank you so much for this conversation. Everybody, check out Giovanni and Archangel. And, it can be so inconvenient to go to an event, and there's so many events. Just like I told you, I'm kind of traumatized by my 35K event investment. And, I have a lot of work to do around being the squeaky wheel. I never ask for refunds or stuff like that. It's hard for me to do that. But I think at the end of the day, the amount of integrity you have with what you're doing and the amount of expansion that can happen for somebody listening, I hope you all check out his events. And thanks again, Giovanni, for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the U-Turn podcast. I hope you learned so much in this episode and you're putting it into action today. We would love to hear from you. Slide into my DMs at Ashley Stahl or leave a written review if you're inspired. It would mean so much to us. Be sure to subscribe to the show because, as you know, the more subscribers we get, the better the guests we can bring you. And in the meantime, if you're looking to skyrocket your personal brand and impact millions, head on over to wisewhisperagency.com to learn more about how we can help you craft your greatest talk of your life, how we can help you get booked on some of the biggest stages in the world, even the TED or TEDx stage. We'd love to hear from you, and that's it for this week.
Trying to solve, always think you know it all. Been thinking about you up against that wall. It's too late, I fell on every phone. Holding ground on hers. I'm holding ground on hers. Holding ground on late night drive. What you trying to do tonight? I swear you don't even try. Yeah, you still stupid. I can try and make you mine, but I don't think you like guys. I don't think you like guys. I don't think I should try. I guess it's time to give up, but I